Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and jelly babies. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XII. Morris here. Once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us, I should say. We have a new party member, because in the last episode we joined forces with Bosch. And Vaughn was none too happy about that. But I'm not going to explain it, because I'm sure these guys will explain it at some point. And a handy-dandy merchant. How much business do you really get down here? I mean, I don't think there'd be enough to set up a shop, to set up a functioning business, but here he is. I don't reckon you saw whatever caused that terrible racket just now. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Come crashing down straight on the stairs, that was the only way out. Guess it's time to start looking for a back door out of this place. What about you? You plan on poking around these tunnels, best go prepared. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you are down here, sir, but I will sell you my goods. I'm also surprised that you have even the money to buy these goods from me. Kind of incredible. I'm impressed, if nothing else. Ah, new bazaar goods. Alright, do you have anything that I might need? I don't really know. I mean, immune against blind, that's pretty good. Quip lever, that's also pretty good, but you get a free one later on. Is there anything that can blind me? I think there is. We'll take one anyway. It's always a good idea to just have one of everything, especially if you kind of have the money for it, which at the moment we really do. Buy Libra. Is there anything here that will be useful? They're all so cheap. All these spells at the beginning are all so wonderfully cheap. So we might as well just have them, to be honest. I'll get Dark. I don't really need these two. And Gambits. I think we're okay for Gambits as well. We'll buy Self. Self is always a good one to have. I think that should just about do it though, honestly. That's probably the most business he's got in a long time. Anyway, let's open this gate. We can't open this gate. Do I have to press the switch before this thing will activate? Forget the order of events here. I know you have to just interact. just press all the switches until progress is made. Let's have a look. The fuse is blown. That would explain why there's no power reaching the switch. If the wiring is any indication, I'd say this is a central power relay of some sort. As it stands, I doubt we'll find much still running down here. Okay, now I'll try the gate. Oh, what a surprise, nothing happened again. No power in the passage, eh? Try putting this inside. Why would you not give me that originally? I'm not complaining, he's being very helpful. Look at that. An electrician I ain't, but I'd say that was a job well done. Alright, now we can get the gate open. I see you got the gate open. Ought to be able to look for all manners of way out now. While the lights are on, the passage ain't so bad, but let the charge drop and some fierce beasts start coming out in the dark. This fancy future gauge should help you keep track of it. Just like with the Sunstones.
Hey, who turned out the lights? One of those?
I've heard of these. Mimics. They disguise themselves as all manner of things, then strike when you're least wary. Some of them have a fondness for energy, I'm told. They gorge themselves on the stuff till there's naught left.
So, what happens then?
Lights out, and it's worse in the dark. Much worse. So, let them get too close to one of those conduits, and they'll suck it dry. But don't worry, it'll give the energy back if you ask nicely. Sticking it with a sword helps too. Clock's ticking.
So yeah, that is the gimmick of this particular dungeon. Most of the dungeons in this game do have a sort of special conditions or, you know, interesting new different things going on in them. So it's not just like you're just fight the enemies and that's it. And this one is all to do with really taking out these mimics as quick as possible. Now remember, I really struggled with this when I was younger. Like with most things in this game, you know, I struggled with it. And I just, for some reason I wasn't able to fight these mimics. I don't know whether I was just surprisingly underleveled for this part of the game. I really couldn't tell you, but whatever I was doing wrong was really going wrong because I couldn't fight them. So I just ended up trying to flee through this area, but it doesn't really work because if, you know, if the charge dips kind of below 50%, then more enemies start spawning in, like zombies and other things I'd rather not mention. So yeah, they just kind of get, it just gets a little bit too much to deal with, and they'll all chase you. So it's best to just concentrate fire on these mimics whenever you can. And you'll notice that Bosch doesn't really have anything in the way of weapons or equipment. Like, you know, we say he's another sword arm, but he doesn't actually have a sword in his arm at the moment. All he's got is his fists. But fortunately he's happy to throw down whenever possible. I mean, the thing about Bosch is if we look at his stats right here, he's 2 levels above us. So he has more max health, and he's pretty strong as well. So he's more of a punching bag at the moment than anything else, but that's pretty useful. In an RPG, it's always nice to have just someone that you can throw in the enemy's direction, you know? Ooh, Phoenix down, nice. In terms of the chests in this area, there are a few things that we can get, but there's no guarantee that a lot of these chests will even really spawn. So we'll just, you know, if they do, great. If they don't, I'm not going to spend, you know, all day trying to get specific things to spawn. I suppose there is still a bit of luck involved with the chest system. You know, if a chest has something that you specifically want, and some of the ones later on in the late game have, you know, some of the best weapons, but they have a really low chance of spawning in. You can just try and manipulate that by leaving an area and coming back. And it kind of resets the screen, so to speak. And gives you a new chance for things to spawn in. But that really is only for the best stuff. You know, most things that you miss, or that are missable in terms of equipment, you can buy eventually. So it's not a massive problem. And we pretty much have everything that we need at the moment anyway. So that's good. Gorging themselves on electricity. My goodness. I actually quite like this game's design for mimics. I mean, that'll make more sense when we actually, you know, see a mimic trying to hide itself rather than just out in the open. But I think they're pretty cool. Wow, Fran, you're really on massive healing duty here, eh? So you can see the charge meter in on the side there, just obviously showing you what your current charge level is. If it starts dipping like it did there to 99%, that's when you know that there is a mimic somewhere nearby. I mean, it sounds obvious, but if it stays at 100%, it means you're good. Like, you can kind of progress. But if it's going down, it's best to just kind of have a bit of a search around. Because this dungeon is pretty long, I guess. for a starting dungeon. Stop healing yourself, please. So, if you don't know where you're going, the worst thing is to just have, you know, a mimic constantly bringing that charge level down while you're trying to escape. High potion, useful. So the way this setup is going to work in a little bit more detail is Vaughn, being, you know, using daggers, will be more of a DPS character, and Balthier and Fran will end up as kind of support characters. That's why it's better, you know, Gambit's like the one I had for that Fire main fight with Ally Any and Antidote. It's better to have your support characters with those kind of Gambits. Because it's best to just, I mean, it sounds really obvious, but it's best to just keep the DPS characters, you know, doing damage and not being distracted by anything else. I mean, the setup that we're going to go for, Vaughn will know 0 spells. So, his job is literally just whack the enemy until it's not there anymore. And that's not to say that the damage that Balthier and Fran is doing is, you know, negligible, because it's not. It's really handy. But it's better to have those characters throwing out items, because the enemies will likely not be concentrating on them too much. I mean, say what you want about Vaughn, he takes a few hits for the team. Oh, nice punch, Bosch. That's a hell of a right hook he's got on him. Fortunately, those little mimics, they don't take any electricity, so we're good. The charge being on 100%, we kind of know that this area is pretty much clear. Oh, there is one more. Appeared out of nowhere. And then what is through here? I don't even really remember. I think there's just some extra items here. And more mimics. Goody. This can get pretty tough if a load of these bigger mimics somehow manage to team up. If that kind of situation happens, it's better to just make a hasty retreat, to be honest. I mean, I do have the guide next to me. I suppose I could just look at what's in this area, but that's not how you learn. Maybe this will have something. Battle harness. There you go. That's useful. Remind me again what that does. When attacked, automatically counter with weapon in hand. That description is a little bit misleading because it doesn't always work. It's not like a guarantee that you will definitely counter. It's just increasing your chance to counter. Well, giving you a chance in the first place. I don't think there's any chance that anybody counters in this game just naturally. But at least that'll give you a shot. Again, obviously better to equip that on somebody like Vaughn, who's attacking a lot anyway and doing a lot of damage. Hey, don't you run away from me. So you see what I mean here? This shot is a kind of good example of how the order system kind of works. what I was talking about, I can't remember if it was in episode 2 or 3, but having people in the front row, you've got Vaughn and Bosch here, but then you can see Balthier and Fran over there, kind of in the back row. So it's not as much of a straight line as it used to be, but it's definitely there. You know, that system is, I think, is still present. I don't know how Fran is making those shots from there, but she's a Vieira. They're you know, they're talented in ways we can't understand. So yeah, these are more flans here. So let's. Sorry, Fran, but you're gonna have to help us out with some fire spells here. See Bosch and Balthier doing next to no damage, and in some cases no damage. Nice one, Vaughn. A 3-miss combo. Wow. Bosch needs a bit of a healing. 1 HP. My god, he's clinging on for dear life. Let's just get some MP back. Okay, so this is probably a good opportunity to talk about the speed up system in this. If you tap L1, you can kind of speed the whole game up. The gameplay just shoots up, and I've got it on ×2 at the moment, ×2 speed. But you can switch it up to ×4 if you really want to. And what I was saying before about running around to regenerate MP, it was kind of it's a bit of a hassle when you've got it on the normal speed, but if you're willing to just sit there on ×4 and just run in circles, it's really handy. In fact, it's probably a good idea here to switch to Fran just to get some MP back properly. Because you see what I mean about her just kind of stood there? This is not good. This is not a good situation we got going here. I mean, we're aggroing a lot of stuff here. Kind of see what I mean about not aggroing too many enemies at once. Oh, and they're both blind. That's great news. I don't know if anyone else knows Cure, actually. I don't think Balthier knows it. No. Oh well. Fran, you're in charge. You're in charge of this whole crazy expedition at the moment. I'll let you come down here. I mean, I guess that's one of the hidden dangers of this kind of system. And I don't mean it's like a negative or anything like that. It's just an extra thing that you kind of have to think about. Is because they're not random battles, you know, and you don't enter a battle and go that this is all that's going to happen. These are the enemies that I'm going to face, and that's it. It's a case of you may, you know, without even realizing it, start to aggro other enemies. I should really get rid of this blind on somebody. There you go. Shoot that right in your eyes, and they come back. And there's nothing here. Good. But I know I kind of like that. Like I've said, I much rather lean towards this kind of battle system, where it's not as, you know, stop start. Not saying it doesn't have its place, but everybody has their preferences, right? Yeah, the flans are a fairly difficult hurdle at this part of the game. As far as I know, Fran, again, is the only one who can actually cast fire. No one else really has the equipment to get through the flans. All the different enemies are kind of strong and weak against various different types of weapons. So Fran is really the only one that can kind of get at them at the moment. Still, as long as that charge is at 100%, I'm totally happy. I mean, the speed up thing, this, you know, when I watch other players, because sometimes I watch other people stream this, or maybe a few videos on it, see a lot of people playing at this ×2 speed, and I kind of I don't really understand why, you know, why people do that. To be honest, I find that I'm much more in control of what's happening if I'm just playing at the normal speed. The only time I ever switch it up to ×2 or ×4 is when I'm trying to either just get a bit of cheeky MP back, or I'm going through an area that, you know, I can just one-shot every enemy, so I don't want to have to stand there and kind of watch that happen. I just want to kind of run through it, you know? But I don't know, I can't understand why people do it. I find it much more enjoyable to play the game at the speed that it was originally intended. And I see people, you know, fighting bosses with it on ×2 and ×4, and I just think, how can you know, things can go wrong really, really quickly in this. I just don't see the point to it myself. I mean, again, I guess it just comes down to personal preference. So yeah, another good reason to keep that charge level up is you do need to open another gate, so you need to have at least 30% going on. I don't even know why I've come in here. I don't think is there anything? Oh, there's a chest there. Right, okay. That's not too bad then. It's not a completely wasted trip. Bosch is level 9. So that's something I actually don't know if I've mentioned that yet, because it's admittedly been a little while since I last played. But guests now also, as well as being able to actually, you know, run around as them and set up their gambits and everything, you can they actually level up with you, which means it's a lot more feasible to take guests into places where they, you know, wouldn't normally really be able to offer much, you know, to the party in general. And it kind of keeps them on par with everybody else as well. Right, so I've been up there, I've been down, right, okay. Just trying to mentally map out where I've been. So there's a couple of bomb enemies in here now. And they're non-hostile, and it's probably a good idea not to not to aggro them. I think what that sort of dinosaur enemy in the Estes is trying to teach you is that there are enemies that are non-hostile that are way tougher than you. So if something is not attacking you, just leave it be. Leave it alone.
Mist seethes.
It reeks. Something's close. Nice moves there, Captain.
You mean traitor?
So they say. But I didn't see him kill anyone.
My brother did.
Rex. He said he had a brother 2 years younger. I see. He meant you. Your brother, what became of...
He's dead.
I'm sorry.
It was you who killed him.
I give you my word. That was not the way of it.
Rex, sir. My name's Rex. All I have left, sir. He's 2 years younger than I. Living in
Time botched. Save the discussion for later.
We found them! What if we arrive after he signed the treaty?
Sir, we have little time. You must go to the
Don't
tank.
fear. They're slowing
My
us
home,
down.
Captain Ozilis'
And for my parents.
Captain, why? Our king, have you done?
His Majesty was a traitor.
A twin brother. Fancy that. But still, the pieces fit, I'll give you that much. And he did look like you.
I don't believe you.
Of course not. It was my fault that Rex was there. I am sorry.
My brother, he trusted you. He trusted you and he lost everything. How can I believe you?
Not me, then. Believe in your brother. He was a fine soldier. He fought to the last to protect his homeland. Now, surely he fought to protect his brother.
You don't know anything!
Believe what you want to. Whatever it takes to make you happy. What's done is done.
So yeah, Balthea has a very interesting, interesting attitude towards that. I mean, the line, oh, what does he say? The line, "I didn't see him kill anyone," is, you know, it's kind of the most mature thing you can say, but at the same time, the most immature thing that you can say. It's like, well, I didn't see it happen, so it didn't happen. You know, pics or it didn't happen kind of thing. But at the same time, what's done is done. It's very practical. Stop being a hero, Balthea. You're taking too much of this center stage right now. So yeah, now Bosch is kitted out a little bit more and has a little bit of defense, a little bit more strength and attack and everything. So actually, you know, he becomes, well, a proper help from now on. But yeah, the whole idea of having a twin brother, and that's, you know, that's what went down in the opening sequence of the game. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, just as a kind of plot in general? I mean, is that a good idea, or is that a kind of lazy, weird idea? Because I don't know if I can decide. I mean, I guess I kind of like it because I like both characters. I like the twins, so I guess I kind of give it a pass. But yeah, I remember being 15 and being amazed by it, so... Anyway, let's pick this up. Oh, it's a mimic. So yeah, that's why I like their designs. Because I love the way they pop out like that. But unfortunately, the mimics are not massively threatening. Especially not with 4 characters here. So you see now Bosch is doing way more damage than anybody. Twice, thrice the damage of some characters. Oh hey, who are you? Skeleton. Our charge level must have gotten a little bit low there. Ah. I don't remember which ones are mimics and which ones are chests, other than that first one, so... Yes, we're just gonna fight everything. Sexy, level up, thank you. So yeah, there's actually, this dungeon, there is a set path which we're taking to get out of it, of course. But this dungeon is a lot bigger than it may first appear. This gate, which is closed off to us now, eventually does open up and opens up a whole new section of this dungeon with, you know, optional bosses and a load of equipment that you wouldn't always, you know, be able to find otherwise. And that's kind of a running theme throughout this whole game. Is you go through a lot of areas and you kind of just, although, you know, it's not always just a straight line like it kind of is now. You know, there's a bit of variance. You'll find that, you know, after post-dungeon, I guess, after you've actually already come out of the dungeon and triggered, I guess, a new world state by whatever cutscene, you have the opportunity to go back and either go back through the same areas or sometimes brand new areas and, you know, unlock new enemies and new equipment and all kinds of stuff. This game is really, it's a big game. Normally, even just playing the story, and it gets even bigger if you decide to go through all these optional areas. There's areas in this game that I've never seen, just because I was never a high enough level. But I like that. A good RPG, and especially a good Final Fantasy, has to have that stuff. I mean, I feel like that's the crux of any good RPG, is how much, it's not necessarily how much optional stuff is there, but what's involved in it. And I think, you know, a good source of new weapons and equipment and bosses and sometimes cutscenes that you wouldn't, you know, ordinarily get. I think that's pretty satisfactory in terms of extra content. But one of the, again, something that's kind of common to this game is that a lot of that stuff you're not really told about. I mean, maybe, you know, I don't kind of... It's been that many years that I don't really remember all the dialogue of every NPC in the whole game. I imagine there's a few that tell you about certain things, certain dungeons, and maybe hint at stuff. But there's no kind of... You'll notice, you know, in all these menus, there's no kind of quest log. There is a... If we go into the clan primer, there is a log for... we only have one at the moment, but there is a log for the hunts. I can't remember if we've taken a look at that yet. Which kind of gives you, you know, little reminders of where to go and what you're actually supposed to be doing, which is nice. But if you talk to someone and they say, hey, help me out with this thing, it doesn't show up anywhere. You kind of just have to remember. So my advice would be, if you come across a side quest, just do it. Just do it as far as you can do it. Right then and there, because you never know, you know, you could play for 20 hours and then come back to it and go, oh, what was that thing, that guy? Who was that guy? Where was, you know, you just, there's no way of kind of logging it unless it's in your own head. Anyway, we just picked up a thing. Picked up a Capella, which is another gun. Yeah, a little bit more attack power now then. I don't know if that's a certain drop or a rare drop or a 50-50, who knows, but if we can get the license for that, I think we'll give that a cheeky equip right the hell now. Excellent. That little optimize thing there that I just clicked on, I only really use it when I know what's going to change. Sometimes when you start buying all the licenses and you've got a ton of equipment, pressing optimize is not always the best choice. The way it works it out is it just goes off kind of raw defense and I think raw attack power as well, and that's it. But it doesn't give you, you know, it doesn't take into account maybe the party in general or the build that you're kind of going for. So early on it's not a problem, but when you got a flood of equipment and weapons, it's best to just kind of do it manually. I mean, it really did used to be a pain. Sometimes it'd have, because everybody has the same licenses, you know, you could end up with Pinello running around with a huge, you know, two-handed greatsword or something, and it's like, this is... It says optimize, but I'm not sure this is optimal at all. Save crystal. Thank you. Alright, so... Why would there be a save crystal? Is it boss time? Well, I'm not going to spoil it. No, yeah, I am. It's boss time. So, let's set things up, shall we? I don't actually think there's really that much we can do in terms of gambits. Don't think this boss can inflict status effects, if I'm right. Could be completely wrong, so I'm just going to kind of leave it as is for now. One thing to note about this boss that I remember from back in the day is that it is weak to Blizzard, and that merchant that we met at the beginning of this dungeon used to sell Blizzard, but now he doesn't. Which is a bit of a shame, because that used to be the strategy for this, is get everybody with a Blizzard Gambit and just spam, spam, spam until it's dead. But it's not really possible at the moment. Or anymore, I should say. Ew. Yeah, that's kind of disgusting how they come out like that. Anyway, as far as strategy goes here, I tend to just hit the Mimic Queen. Just hit the damn thing. I'll be controlling Fran, just to keep the MP going. I mean, it's not really important now, but it will be. So this was the first occasion where I kind of, I guess, noticed that this game had gone through the rebalance that it has done. Because this boss used to kind of, if you weren't the adequate level, it used to just absolutely decimate your entire party almost straight away. So you just have to spend a bit of time leveling up in the passage that we've just gone through. But here you can see we're kind of whittling it down pretty nicely. It'll probably do its super. Yeah, there you go. We're going to talk about those supers once we get out of this dungeon. Oh wow, Varna's fallen. Let's fix that. He must have been slightly low on health. This is the first instance in the game where you'll start to realize how useful Bosch is. Bosch, again, is kind of a tanky DPS character, so he'll most of the time just be in charge of just whatever happens. He'll constantly be dealing damage. Very handy to have on your side. There we go. He's just a shoo-in to always get the last hit.
To think Dalmascan air could taste so sweet.
Where are we?
The Estes Sand, by the look of it. Let's back to Rabanasta before we shrivel up. By your leave, Captain.
Yes, the hour of my return is already over late. The people may hate me, but that does not free me of my charge.
So yeah, we are way out in the Estes Sand, but that's not a problem. The enemies are, because we've leveled up so much inside, that the enemies here are pretty much nothing now. Anyway, yeah, I want to talk about the Mimic Queen as well as Fire Main. Those are the main two bosses that we've kind of come across at the moment. Which save is it? That one. I have to think every time. I can't just naturally do it. Yeah, you'll notice that they had the two moves there. They kind of had a a lightning one, and then, what was it, ground shaker, where it kind of jumped up and slammed down. And then Fire Main had bushfire, where it's just kind of a, you know, big fire spell, whatever. It's not really important what they are. The point is that nearly everything in this game, and not just bosses, but regular enemies as well, have, I guess, their own techniques. So they cost no MP, as you can see. But they don't really cost anything. You can always do them, unless for some bizarre reason you're banned from doing them. Yeah, enemies here will be nothing, right? Yeah. Cool. Nice one, Bosch. Way to kill the wildlife. So, you know, that's okay. I guess if, you know, we as characters have them, then it makes sense that enemies have them as well. But I kind of think it throws the game out of balance a little bit. It works better here, but again, I'm kind of going off memory from the original version. But it you know, you get spells like you know, blind or silence. You know, if you want to, because silence works on some bosses. If you got a boss that you know to be casting a lot of spells that you don't want it to cast, then throw silence on it and hope that it lands. Seems like a pretty sound tactic, but that doesn't take away their ability to do these moves. And one difference between, you know, the player's ability to do them and the enemy's ability to do them is that if I do a technique, let's take a look, shall we? If I steal from this wolf coming up, sorry wolf, but I need your goods, you'll notice it still has to fill up, right? The bar at the bottom there still has to fill up to the top before I actually get that steal. But the bosses, once they decide that they want to do their, like, final killer move, they just do it. By the snap of your fingers. You know, you blink and it's already happening. So I kind of feel like it's... you know, those of you who have kind of watched my videos in the past, whatever playthrough it might be, I feel like... I hope that I come across as somebody who doesn't blame the game. I mean, I poke fun at games because, you know, it's whatever, right? But I never sit there and go, oh my god, this game is so stupid, it's the game's fault. I never say things like that. I always assume that there's something kind of behind it. But this is one of those instances where I kind of feel like it's a little bit unfair, because a lot of the bigger attacks that the bosses have, obviously they do a lot of damage, but they also cause status effects. You know, at the moment it's things like poison, but they get a lot more deadly later on. You know, they might cause stuff like immobilize or stop. You know, you might just... all of your party might just stop. And there's no way to kind of... Because the moves come out instantly, there's no way to prepare for it. There's no way to plan for it. It's kind of, you know, if you don't have your party set up beforehand, if there's, you know, there's no way of knowing what the attack's going to do or when it's going to happen, so you just kind of have to get a little bit lucky in that sense. Which, you know, I'm not a massive fan of the way that's set up. I'm actually going to stick this on ×2 because there's really no chance of us dying here. This is the only instance where I would use this kind of thing. So yeah, that would be my only grievance with, I guess, boss attacks. And you saw there with that Fire Main boss, it just kind of kept doing it over and over again. There's no cooldown or anything like that. There's no real limits as to how badly they can damage you, so... Sometimes, only sometimes, it feels like maybe you're relying on a little bit of luck. You know, I've had times where that Fire Main boss will only use bushfire once and then just use physical attacks after that. And it's been very simple to deal with. But this time around, that didn't happen. But there you go. And there's times where I never even saw that ground shaker move from Mimic Queen. Just didn't bother with it.
I thank you.
I'd avoid crowds if I were you. In this town, you're still a traitor, you know.
The Resistance will surely find me soon. Fate's will, we meet again. I would pay my respects to your brother.
You're a fugitive now, too. Stay low for a while.
What about the stone?
Do as you like. That stone's ill-favored.
We feel regret. We sought that stone and found ourselves only worry.
You offering it?
It's mine.
Then why'd you ask? Our regards to your girl.
We stay in Rabanastre a while.
What do you think? Can I trust Bosch? I gotta get rid of this thing. But maybe I should show it to Pinello first, so she knows I got something. She'd be at Miguel's place this time of day.
Balthier and Fran leave the party. A more depressing message I don't think I've seen. And Bosch leaves the party as well. We're all on our lonesome, but we are back in Rabanastre. Think how long it's been. It's been hours since we've seen this place. But hey, we made it out, so that's good news. Hello, Herdy. Welcome to the Mooglink. This is your first time using the Mooglink? Nothing to it. It lets you teleport to several select locations across Rabanastre. This is Rabanastre only technology for some reason. You can basically teleport, you know, free of charge. You don't need a teleport stone or anything to different areas in the city, which is cool. No other city has that. But I guess this is the kind of the main hub. This is the biggest. It's not necessarily the biggest city, but it's the biggest in terms of, you know, actual places that Vaughn can go. So I guess it makes sense to have that. Anyway, we're approaching. What are we approaching? 45, 50 minutes, something like that. So I'm gonna pause it for now, guys. But thank you very much for watching this episode of Final Fantasy XII, and I hope to see you in the next part. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in a bit. See you later.